Inbounds pass comes into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win!
That was get the ball, Michael. Everybody get the out of the way. Go to the basket.
Michael. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, baby, what a sensational player. Knicks have led by as many as 17.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move by Jordan. It counts. And the foul. That is one of the moves of the season.
A look away to Livingston. Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan open. Chicago with the lead. The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship.
Oh my God, that was real.
And when we come back here on TNT, we're going to get it started. Michael Jordan's conversation with John Thompson. MJ, a winner, a champion, but the bottom line, a competitor.
Have you ever met anyone that you felt was as competitive as you are?
No. I just feel that my competitive drive is far greater than anyone else that I've met.
Featured there. Ernie Johnson back at you from the jam session, and we want to bring Kenny the Jet Smith on here first today as we get started in this salute to Michael Jordan, because you were there in North Carolina when it all got started. His last year was your first year. What was that like?
It was very interesting because obviously he wasn't a player that he became, but you saw all of the qualities that you would want in a player that he had and he possessed, but he coupled them and put them all together when he got to the actual NBA, because I didn't think he was going to be as good as he is now, to be honest. I really didn't think that.
Well, was he a typical college kid, or was there something special? Was he treated with reverence around there on Chapel Hill?
No. Sam Perkins actually was the player everyone idolized at the school. Michael was kind of like a little bit of a second fiddle because Sam was a 4-year All-American as well. But what I do remember is playing a lot of times in the summer league and in the summertime. And we would play game after game after game. And Michael would always, after the game, stand in the middle of the court while everyone would go get water. So we'd come back, he's still there. He's doing that after every game. So one day I was just like, Mike, why are you standing in the half court? He's like, because when everybody's off the court, I want to say that I'm still on the court more than anyone. So I was like, okay, let me stand in half court with Michael now.
Like Mike.
Exactly.
He wanted to be like Mike. What do you say we get this thing started? The conversation between Michael Jordan and John Thompson, the former North Carolina legend and the longtime Georgetown head coach.
You've had a lot of fantastic moments in sports. What's the greatest moment?
I mean, what started everything, you should
Don't
know.
say that. don't say the shot against Georgia.
Yeah, that was the greatest moment because I think that took me from if I had any doubts about playing on college level or playing with the big guys, that shot gave me the confidence that I belonged where I was, and that it was, if you put your mind to doing whatever you want to do, good things can happen, so before anything else happened with Michael Jordan outside of that game and against you guys, that shot gave me the idea that I could be better than what people think, and I can, surpass any expectations that I may have for myself.
Let me turn it. What's your greatest disappointment in sports?
I haven't had any disappointments. I mean, sports is a tool that teaches, and it teaches you bad things. It can also teach you good things. It's how you perceive those things. I've looked at every experience that I've had, negative and positive, and taken that as a positive. If I wouldn't change anything because I think it would alter some of the other things that happened. So when I look back, I can't say that I've had any bad things happen. Sure, I mean, you don't want bad things to happen, but you deal with bad things. You can't have good or without bad.
When you look back at your career, particularly in the NBA, when you started off in the NBA, you did a lot of exceptional things yourself individually.
Right.
And then later on, 96, 98, you guys start really winning championships. Evaluate the difference in the two.
Well, I even go back further. I mean, you come out of college, you got a lot of gifted talent and some knowledge from your coach, you know, and when you get to the pros, you have to blend that knowledge as well as your individual talent. And you don't know where you stand. You know, I came into the league thinking I was the last on the totem pole. That was my thinking. I didn't come in thinking I was on top. So I had to work my way past all my teammates, and they're all guys within the league, to prove and establish myself as a basketball player. So, you know, I was gifted, I was talented, you know, I knew how to play the game. I didn't know how to play the game on the professional level. I had to learn that. And it took some years of learning, watching Magic Johnson, watching Larry Bird, see how they can play, you know, impact games when they're not scoring. Or, you know, they score 4 points, they still make the big plays down the stretch. These are things that you learn in the process of maturing in this league, you know. And as I watched, I began to adapt, and I became more complete. You know, I wasn't one-dimensional. The one thing I never wanted to be was one-dimensional. You know, everyone saw me as just a scorer, one-on-one player, but I knew I was better than that. I came from a great program at North Carolina, teach you how to do more than just one thing. You know, so I spent the rest of my career trying to evolve as a player, and when our team got to a point where we can contend, I had to assume a leadership role. I had to, you know, other guys had to step forward, and then when we got to that point where we were winning, all the bases and all the foundation has been built. You know, now it's just about can you mentally get yourself back each time to challenge yourself more so than the opponent, but yourself, to be that hungry each and every time you stepped on the court. That took some evolving over the course of my career. And when I got to that point, I had no doubts that I couldn't win anytime I stepped on the court, or that I couldn't inspire people to win no matter how many times I stepped on the court.
I tell people that from my observation of you, you're one of the most competitive individuals that I've ever seen. I would imagine if you were playing jacks with somebody, you'd want to kill them. Have you ever met anyone that you felt was as competitive as you are?
No. I just feel that, you know, my competitive drive is far greater than anyone else that I've met. You know, I think that I thrive on that. I think that's my biggest motivation in life, you know, is to compete, you know, find different competitions in certain things in life and try to overcome that, you know, be it positive or negative. But I have yet to meet someone who is as competitive as me, you know, and I just feel that much confident about my competitive drive.
I want to ask you some true and false questions. Just 3.
Just 3, okay.
Just 3. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever.
False.
Why?
Because I didn't play against, you know, all the great players prior to me, and I had those other players to influence my game. I mean, it's a great honor, don't get me wrong. But I love to have played against Jerry West to determine if I was a better guard than him or Oscar Robertson, but we'll never know.
Michael Jordan, had he stayed with baseball, would be playing in the big leagues now.
I believe that. A lot of people may not, but I believe that. And I gave, for that short amount of time, I gave the dedication to the game of baseball a true effort. You know, it wasn't, you know, I wasn't there making money. I wasn't trying to endorse any product. You know, I was truly there for the love of the game. You know, I was up at 6 o'clock with bloody blisters all over my hand, just trying to show that I could play this game. I grew up playing this game. I was, you know, I loved baseball. And at the time that I stepped away was a time where, you know, I was being asked to be, being thrown into, you know, a situation that involved, you know, baseball strikes and things of that nature. And that was never my intent, you know. So I kindly walked away before I was thrust into that whole event.
Michael Jordan will absolutely never play in another NBA game after this season.
That's a fact. I will not play in another NBA game. You know, I would play basketball. I'm glad you said NBA game. But I got kids who love the game of basketball. I got friends who love to talk trash about me. I got a lot of young kids who love to compete against me at my camp. I'm still going to play the game of basketball. But from an NBA standpoint, that's it. This is the last year.
I seen him do things that you can't even dream about doing. I seen him go up on one side of the lane, get bumped, still up in the air, twist the ball, do all this in the air and lay it up on the other side. People can't do that.
One play really sticks out of my mind. I will never forget. I have it on tape at home. We playing New Jersey Nets. Michael get the ball, and he maneuvers inside, outside, around back. I mean, it was unbelievable, and makes the shot. I mean, he's the greatest.
I remember him getting the steal, tiptoeing, throwing it in, coming out of bounds, coming back inbounds. Then he turns his back, hits it off the glass, and gets the foul. Just watching him in motion was really exciting.
You know, just seeing him shed those tears after winning that first championship. You know, he had let a lot of weight off his shoulders to be able to win a championship and be compared to some of the greatest players that ever played the game.
I'll tell you a story that I think summed the whole thing up. When we was playing in Chicago, they switched and put John Stockton on it. He turned around and dunked on Stockton. So some guy got up and said, "Hey, Jordan, pick on somebody your own size." Next time down the floor, he dunked on Mel Turpin and went over and looked at the guy and said, "Was he big enough?"
Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time.
Just some of the marvelous stories about the career of Michael Jordan. I'm joined by a guy who's got a few of those himself, Charles Barkley. You guys are pretty tight. Got a favorite Michael story, Chuck?
Well, in 1984, when I tried out for the Olympic team, I didn't really want to go because I didn't think I was good as those guys who went to the big schools. So my coach, Sonny Smith, talked me into going. And when I got there, I actually played real well. And when I got back, he said, "What do you think?" I said, "Coach, if I get in shape and I work hard, I can be a good player." But I played against this one guy. I've never seen anybody that good. And his name is Michael Jordan. And this is when he was back in college. I never expected him to do what he did when he got to the NBA. But the first time I played against him for like a week, I knew he was the best I'd ever seen.
And you make a good point there, because there was nobody, and we'll be talking to you in our roundtable too with more on this, Charles, but there was nobody with the combination of will and skill, and nobody, as he told John Thompson, with that kind of creativity.
Let me ask you something, Mike. A lot of kids copy you, and a lot of things that you did were things that people had never seen before. Did you ever practice those things, that creativity, that self-expression that you did, some of those shots you made?
No, I never did. I mean, you know, obviously when you're as a kid, you want to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to make the game-winning shot. Yes, but I mean, in terms of the creativeness, I think you've seen it. You know, it has happened in situations where the defense dictates what your reaction may be. But then once you do it once, you know you have a gifted talent to create. You know, in any other situation, you try to alter, you try to change. But all it was the expansion of Elgin Baylor, Dr. J, all the guys who was creative before you. And I grew up watching them, so the vision was there. It's just the creativity expanded with my talent.
What motivates you, fear or the feeling of wanting to conquer or be successful?
What motivates me is the unknown. No one knows. You know, they can all speculate, but no one really knows. And you know, when you look at my career from high school all the way up through to the pros, no one knew what Michael Jordan was capable of. You know, and myself, I didn't know. You know, but I didn't let that stop me. You know, and I let that motivate me more so than anything. That, you know, as long as it's unknown, that means I have a chance. You know, and that's the way I pursued my whole career.
Have you ever gone on the court and been afraid?
No, I've never been afraid. I mean, obviously you're nervous, but afraid means you're not confident in your skills. I have total confidence in my skills, so I'm not afraid.
Of all the rivalries which you've had, what is the toughest one you've ever had as an individual?
As an individual, it was probably the Detroit Pistons. You know, when we were trying to get over that hump, you know, I mean, we had the battle. I wouldn't say fear, but intimidation. because to some extent it got away from clean basketball, the basketball that you grew up playing. It got to more where, just one hard foul could end your career, basically. You got to overcome that intimidation factor to keep going to the basket, keep taking that shot, keep aggressively attacking them, And I think as much as it was a battle, it was, once we accomplished that, it was unbelievable success. And no one else could challenge us that way, I didn't think, as a team or even as individuals, to a point where, it bothered us. That was good for us. That was good for me to go through that, and it only made me a tougher player.
How about from a personal standpoint? All players have one player you play against that you say, hey, I enjoy playing against this guy, and I'm looking forward to it, and I just want to show him.
It changed from player to player. Magic Johnson, obviously, because of his notoriety, and Larry Bird, his notoriety, that we had to get past them, or I had to get past them individually before I gain any credibility or can ever get into their ballpark. I had to win championships, I had to win MVPs, I had to make impacts on my team. So that became a challenge for me. Clyde Drexler, who, in essence, we were compared, we were, viewed as being similar. I wanted to show the difference. I felt like it was no comparison, it was no closeness. It was totally a separation between he and I. Every time I battled with that notion in mind, that I wanted to separate myself from him. I mean, we're good friends, don't get me wrong, but it was just that, how people perceived us in our games. I wanted to excel my game and isolate my game from everybody else, that I was more than just, a few-dimensional. Even when it came to Magic Johnson, Magic Johnson was a crowd pleaser. He was a good offensive player. He was a great motivator. Average defensive player. I wanted to change that. I wanted to take another step. I wanted to do all those things, that could separate me from Magic Johnson. I'm not saying he wasn't great. He still is great. But we're great in our own different way, and that was motivational for me, and to this day it still is.
You did an awful lot of scoring big game situations. Who did the best job defending Michael Jordan?
During my heyday, they didn't have one man. They had,
There was not one guy that you hated to see coming?
No, I knew Dumars. Dumars positioned himself defensively great, with help. He knew he had Rodney, he had Lambie, he had everybody helping, but he could position himself great with me, and that was a great challenge to try to outthink him, because he was a great thinker on defense. He tried to take away some of my advantages. I tried to expand on my advantages, and I tried to attack him where he had weaknesses, utilizing my size, trying to get him in a one-on-one situation before the defense could come and help him. I would say he was the guy that made me or forced me to expand from an offensive standpoint.
How would you have guarded Michael Jordan?
I made him shoot the jump shot. Even though, when he drives, he penetrates, he can involve a lot of other people. If he stands out and shoots the jump shot, you only got one person you got to worry about. And I don't think he can score 100 points. I don't think.
I do.
Back here at the jam session, where there is very little room to breathe today. I think everybody in Atlanta is in this place, showing off varying degrees of skill. And we welcome you back to All-Star Weekend here on TNT. Ernie Johnson joined now by Earvin Magic Johnson. And in that last segment, as we salute Michael Jordan, he's talking about using you as kind of a barometer and a measuring stick, and kind of, I need to improve this way, or I want to improve that way. I'll never be getting the notoriety unless I get those rings and that kind of thing. What's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be used as a barometer when you talk about Michael Jordan. I think what happened was Larry Bird and I started it off, and we thought we had something special until this guy named Michael Jordan came into the league. And he took the league and to another level. He took basketball to another level, and he took the skill of basketball, of a basketball player, to another level. There's never been anybody quite like Michael. There probably never will be. And I tell you, we all used to go out, Larry and I, and try to keep up with this guy in terms of skill level. We knew he was practicing 10 hours a day. That made us have to practice 12 hours a day. And he told us something interesting at the Olympics, and I'll never forget this, talking to Larry and I. He said, look, you guys are the old sheriff, but there's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Michael Jordan. So I'm going to take it from where you guys started, and I'm going to take it to a whole nother level. And Michael, you did just that.
Exactly right. If you look at the stats for a guy like Michael Jordan, certainly they stack up against all kind of players of all time in this league, but how important were they? Let's return to John and MJ.
What impact does your statistical place in the NBA have on you?
Well, that never drove me. You know what I mean? The stats only add up when you put forth the effort and you don't worry about it. You know, good things happen to those people that work hard. If I sit here and play for the stats, I would have never retired in '93. Or I still probably be chasing Wilt Chamberlain's all-time, you know, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar all-time scoring lead. I mean, that doesn't drive me. I mean, sure, I mean, it defines to some extent for people who don't know me or, you know, 20 years from now would never know who Michael Jordan really is. But based on the stats, he must have been pretty decent. You know, those are only ways that I look at stats. Other than that, you know, it's all about winning championships and winning. You know, the stats that matter to me is the games that we win and the rings that you collect.
Mike, did you achieve what you intended to achieve with the Wizards?
I think I've achieved it only if the players take what I've done over the last couple of years and move it in the right direction. I mean, what we have done is we brought hope to the city of Washington. You know, and I think that winning and finishing out this year with a good playoff run, I think shows if you believe in something, you put forth the effort. It's not about age, it's not about ability. It's about believing that you can come together as 12 to 15-man team and put forth the effort, fulfill a role, and go out there and play hard. Good things are happening.
You have sons that play.
Right.
Were they critical or positive about your performance when you came back because they were old enough to see you play?
Yeah.
Was that fun?
It is fun. I mean, because I think it's, you know, they critique with not really knowing but gathering information for what I tell them, you know, and they have their favorite players, you know, which in essence I have to compete against those players, you know, and I find myself, if I have a good game against one of those players, believe me, I'm going to let him know it, you know, as much as he's going to probably make excuses why the other player or the player that I'm playing against didn't have a great game against me. But that's fun. I mean, from a father, I mean, that's great to have conversation about your game with your son.
When you see young kids talk about Michael and how Michael did things, and I want to get up early in the morning and play, I want to leave the gym late and play, I want to work, what impact does that have on you?
It's truly inspiration that, you know, my love has been seen, my love has been passed on, my obligation to the game of basketball has been fulfilled because someone did that to me. In turn, I'm doing that for other players and for the game of basketball.
I look at yourself and Jerry Rice. Have you guys extended the life expectancy of an athlete?
Yeah, I think we have. I think there's some truth to that. I think two things have to come in place. You gotta have true love for what you're doing, and you have to be very lucky in terms of health. You know, if you have both of them, then you can extend, you can play as long as you want, because you got to put forth the effort. I mean, when you look at Jerry's a great friend. I think our careers parallel a lot. He's a couple years older than me. I remind him of that. But his desire to be the best at what he does keeps him pushing, not just during the season, but, you know, during the off season, or physically preparing himself for a season and mentally finding ways to challenge himself, or listen to the naysayers as motivation, things of that nature, and staying healthy. And if you can do that, then, you know, yeah, you can extend the longevity of someone's career, you know, but if you take it for granted, you can't. You know, I don't think either one of us take what we have done and what we love for granted.
We really have to play a complete basketball game. I don't think one man can beat the Boston Celtics.
Michael Jordan, the basket good. What a great shot. And Jordan with 40 points. You talk about sheer determination. Michael Jordan has those qualities. Jordan. Oh! ties the game.
Oh, boy.
63 points, and you're looking at an all-time record.
Oh, boy.
Michael Jordan.
What's my name?
Michael Jordan against McGee. Right of the lane, leans in, pumps the shot, no, tips it in. 23 straight points for Jordan. A standing O in Chicago Stadium. 34 for Jordan. Michael on the drive inside, scoops it in. 50. Drive in the lane, shoots under pressure. Good, and a foul call. That's 61 for Jordan.
Here's Pippen setting up Jordan. Wide open kick. Come Michael. 3 again. In. Hot. Woo! Jordan for
Jordan fires it in. Oh, no!
Here's Jordan for 3. Yes! Did you see that look?
This is the greatest performance maybe ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, check it out, Jordan.
Michael comes back to New York City. He loves playing in this gym.
Check it out.
Michael Jordan off to the fast start, this time to the pull-up. And he is on fire. Jordan off the turnover. Puts the move on, starts, yes! And it counts. Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan has 55.
And that is a high for the NBA this season. Now the big story here tonight concerning Michael Jordan's physical conditions. He is suffering from flu-like symptoms.
You wonder just how much, how long, and how hard he'll be able to go.
Michael Jordan continues to blaze away, illness or not. Demanded the ball. Back Michael. Open three.
Yes! They lead it. 38 points for the Kings.
Stuck a dagger at him with a 3.
A courageous, classic performance by the flu-ridden Michael Jordan.
A lot of players wondering what they needed to do to get the flu after that performance by Michael Jordan. Joined now by Danny Ainge, and when we came on the air tonight, we talked about the fact that these images of Michael never get old unless you're on the receiving end, and I saw you a couple of times in those clips. Take me through first that Boston massacre.
I watched that on Sports Classic a couple of times, and that does bring back some bad memories. But Ernie, it's amazing because I played golf with Michael the day before, the Saturday in Framingham, Massachusetts, with a good friend of ours, Mike Carey, and we were out playing, and I destroyed Michael that day. He was not happy. I made a bad mistake. In the locker room after the game, I remember Walton and Bird and McHale and those guys. Michael had come to life. We were all in awe of his performance.
You know, in that game, we have been able to track down video of you in that 63-point game, and here we go. You blowing past Michael to the hole.
You know what was funny about that game was the 63 points, and then I hadn't scored. DJ picked up his 5th foul halfway through the 3rd quarter. I had not scored a point in that game. I ended up with 24 through the double overtimes, but Michael's 63 was unreal.
We appreciate you bringing that tape with you, by the way. And now on that Portland thing, the game everybody remembers by the image of he couldn't figure it out either. What are your memories of that game?
Well, I remember that Clyde Drexler and him were rivals to some extent, like he mentioned earlier in the show. And Clyde was the runner-up MVP that year. And Michael, you could tell that opening tip, Clyde couldn't catch a ball. Michael wanted to separate himself. Not only the three-pointers, which was so unusual for his game, but defensively, he took Clyde out of that game. And that was game 1. And he proved to the world right there, don't compare me and Clyde.
Danny Ainge will be sticking around for our roundtable along with Charles and Kenny and Magic Johnson. One more segment here of this interview with John Thompson. What will be the impact, the lasting legacy of MJ?
Sometimes I dream that he is me.
Sometimes I dream that he is me. You got to see that's how I dream to be. I dream I move, I dream I groove. Like Mike, if I could be like Mike.
Nobody in the world will cover my main man, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan!
What'd you expect? Elmer Fudd? I'm not going to sing.
When did you first realize that no matter where you went, what you would do, you were known? And what impact did that have on your lifestyle?
I started taking trips with Nike. You know, Nike took me over to Europe to try to, to push the shoes and push the brand. And as I was over there, more and more people became aware of who I was, not because of the shoes, but because of the way that I was playing. And at the same time, the league has started to expand and try to get the game of basketball, NBA basketball, worldwide. And the Dream Team, blew it wide open. I think that was when, I couldn't go anywhere in the world and walk the streets. I used to could go to Paris or, Milan or somewhere like that and just walk the streets and no one would know. I can sit outside and, with my family or friends and whatever and just enjoy it. But ever since, the Dream Team, things have just totally gone berserk. I mean, no matter where I go in Europe, it's no different than the States.
How difficult has it been being Michael Jordan?
It's been difficult, but it's got its advantages and disadvantages. I mean, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages no matter how you look at it. And the inspiration that I try to pass on, the admiration that I gain back, I wouldn't give that away for nothing.
As you leave the game, what message do you want to leave to young athletes that are coming on?
Be true to the game, because the game will be true to you. If you try to shortcut the game, then the game's going to shortcut you. If you put forth the effort, good things will be bestowed upon you. That's truly about the game. And in some ways, that's about life too.
What is love? Love is being a rookie. Love is taking the air less traveled. Love is wearing a new pair every game. Love is the buzzer beater. Love is dropping 69. Love is your first. Love is a three-peat. When I lose the sense of motivation and the sense of to prove something as a basketball player, it's time for me to move away from the game of basketball. Love is realizing when not to quit your day job. Love is silencing your critics. playing on nothing but heart. Take it and walk away with your head held high and move on. Thank you, Chicago. What is love? Love is playing every game as if it's your last.
Now, we asked you a short time ago, what do you think Michael Jordan's greatest play was? And you could log on, NBA.com or AOL keyword NBA.com. And so far, we're going to have the results next hour, but so far, it's the switch of hands against the Lakers, the Marv Albert spectacular move by Michael Jordan. That leads the way right now, and does that sit well with everybody at this point?
No, I got to go with the last Utah shot. That showed everything. That showed fundamentals. That showed his escape dribble. That showed him follow through. That showed everything about a game-winning situation. To me, that capsized his whole career in one play.
Welcome to our roundtable discussion now as we wrap up this salute to Michael Jordan. Danny Ainge, Magic Johnson, Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley. You've heard from all of them individually so far, and now as a group. Let me just throw this out. Is he the greatest player ever, Danny?
Yes. Because he played both ends of the court. Offensively, there could be some debate, although I think he was one of the best offensive players, but because of everything he did, yes, and his competitive edge.
Magic.
No, he's the greatest player, and Bill Russell is the greatest winner. Michael, no question, Michael is heads and shoulder above everybody else. He not only dominated on offense and defense, but he also dominated. There will never be a basketball player, and I don't know if there'll ever be another athlete to make as much money on the court and off the court as Michael Jordan. It's just, he will go down like Muhammad Ali, and maybe even bigger.
Well, I think the point that he touched on, Michael was, they're always trying to say, who's the next Michael Jordan? And they only look at offense. Michael Jordan was the best defensive player who played during our era, and that's what separated him.
And I have to agree again. The domination everywhere. There's no players today, like Charles just said, that can dominate a game without scoring 30. There's been games where Michael didn't score 30, but dominate the game from defense, assist. Because in 1 year he played the point guard position. People forget that as well. So the assist as well and the defensive end, total package.
By the way, Charles, you're going to be all right here with the voice?
No.
Yeah. No.
You have to yell and scream the whole time.
Ernie. It must have been the rookie game. He was yelling and screaming at that.
Have Charles whisper in Kenny's ear and every answer he has. And then, Kenny, you can relay it to everybody.
We hear so much about the great will to win that Michael had. In the ratio of will and skill, I mean, how did that work out for him?
It's a combination of both. You have to have both. You know, the will to win, what drove him. And then the skill level is what made him. See, he would have been only Michael Jordan with just the will to win, but he was Michael Air Jordan with the skill to win.
Well, the other thing to add to that is I agree with Magic, but not only that, but his will drove other players' will. You know, Scottie had a stronger will. Horace Grant, B.J. Armstrong, all these guys, his will was contagious. And that's what I think makes him even more special, what he did on the court, what he made other players become.
And people forget, he was the best fundamental player in basketball. And that's what everyone sees the dunks and they see the highlights. But he was the first, to me, the first athlete to come into the game with fundamental skills as his basis. And then his athleticism just took him to where he is today.
Where did he learn those fundamentals?
At North Carolina in college. Hey, I got fundamentals, but I didn't have athleticism or will.
Is that something that Charles whispered to you, or do you have something to add on that front?
Well, no matter how much will you got, if you don't have talent, it doesn't matter.
He was one of a kind, remains one of a kind, and tomorrow he plays in his final NBA All-Star game here in Atlanta. Michael Jordan, our salute here on TNT. We'll be back.
Hi, my name is Michael Jordan. I want you to take a trip with me and discover the secrets that I've known for many years. That man was truly destined to fly.
From North Carolina, Michael Jordan.
If I get the ball, you're at mercy. There's nothing that you can say or do about it. You own the ball, you own the game, you own the guy who's guarding you. You can actually play him like a puppet.
As long as we're on this earth, I think everybody wants to be known as a winner.
The Chicago Bulls have won their first ever second straight season, 3 straight NBA championships.
And the only way you can be remembered on this earth is to win.
The Chicago Bulls have regained the NBA throne.
It is Bedlam here at the United Center. The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship.
How would you like to be remembered?
As a winner that sacrificed every aspect of this game for that sake of winning, you know, and it would do anything to cover holes of a team or a player so that we can win. And truly love the game of basketball. I truly love the game. I wouldn't be playing if I didn't love the game. It's truly for the love of the game of basketball.
In a class all his own, Michael Jordan. Hope you've enjoyed our hour-long salute to MJ on the eve of his final All-Star appearance. We're just getting warm here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We've got another hour to go.